has asked me to let you know, and everybody in this meeting, to let you know that we got news of the passing of her husband last night. He passed away after some illness, brief illness. Because of that, she's not in an emotional state to join this meeting, but the meeting is so important that it has to continue, and she has asked me to step in for her and be with you and convey the message.
Oh, that's very sad.
Indeed, indeed.
Pass on our condolences.
Yeah. All right, I'll extend that to her. So in that regard, we just ask for your prayers to pray for him and pray for all of us, because he's somebody we knew for a long time. I personally knew him for a very, very long time, and it's like I don't know, it's like family, you know. So we ask for your prayers as well. Mm-hmm. So with your permission, we can.
Well.
All right. Okay. I'll convey the message of the condolences from Rwanda. All right. From the Honorable Minister and the colleagues and friends who are part of this meeting. May I now, shall we, with your permission, Honorable Minister, we have the RC as well connected. We have partners connected, colleagues there. Yes. So, with your permission, we can begin the meeting.
Yes, please. Let's start.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Initially, I was scheduled to moderate. I was scheduled to moderate, but now I am standing in for Antares. Regardless, I will still do some moderating as we go, but a colleague would join me to take up that role as we proceed to the agenda. So the first item on the agenda we have is that I was going to do the introductions and set the stage. Basically, I think I'll just allow us to quickly just say something. The way we structure for the partners, especially the IT partners, our colleague called Taro, he's connected. He's the director of the UNESCO Institute for Information Technology in Education, based in Moscow. He will introduce the partners, or talk to the partners to introduce themselves. But I will introduce myself and the colleagues who are online with me. Then I will allow and hand over to Honorable Minister to introduce yourself, and then maybe the Rwanda side, SJ NATCOM and the senior officials who are with you, permanent secretaries and so on, could introduce themselves very, very briefly before we proceed. Is that all right?
Yes, that's all right with me. Thank you.
All right. I will start with myself. Like I said earlier, I'm Seydou Jallow. I'm the Chief of Education for the UNESCO Regional Office for Eastern Africa. I've been here this August. I'll do 2 years, but one of those years I spent as officer in charge in our Juba office. So technically, I did only 1 year in the Nairobi region, but I've made a few visits to quite about 4 visits, working with Pascal and SG NATCOM and a few other guys, and the Rwanda Education Board and so on. So it is my pleasure to be part of this meeting. And when it gets to Teresa's message, I will read that as well. So allow me to introduce some of our colleagues. One of them, a director of Yumiko. Are you on? Yumiko?
Yes, we see her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yumiko, you are on. Yes, please say hello.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Yumiko Yokozaki. I'm a director of ICUBA, International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, working on teacher development in Africa. We are Category 1 Institute of UNESCO. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Taro, you want to introduce yourself only for now? before you hand over back to me to proceed with other colleagues. Taro, please.
Yes, it's a great honor and pleasure for me to join CIDL Nairobi office for this important meeting. I also have my colleague Switzerlander and Natalia with me. Over to you.
All right. Awol, you want to say something? Awol, Andres, are you on?
Good morning, partners and colleagues. My name is Awol Andres, and I'm the Education Program Specialist in the Nairobi office.
Okay. Who else is here among the colleagues? Okay. I will, at this point, let me, in the meantime, let me hand over to the RC to introduce himself and any of the UNCT members who will be present in this meeting. RC?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Fode Njai. I'm the UN Resident Coordinator in Rwanda. Murao Neza, Nyakubava Minister.
Good. Thank you, RC. You are showing us that you are showing us that you are based in Rwanda, eh?
Yes. Yes.
That's good. Excellent. All right. Is the RC, is the UNICEF representative there?
Yeah, normally UNICEF WFPIC also.
Yeah, okay.
Juliana,
maybe
are you connected?
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you virtually.
Good.
Edith
Thank
as well.
you. Okay,
Edith,
Juliana.
WFP.
Yes, good morning, everybody, Excellencies. I'm Edith Haynes. I'm the representative and country director of the World Food Programme. And I'll just mention I'm here with a team. I have my head of program, my head of IT, and the school feeding officer are present in the meeting as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. You are welcome.
Ahmed,
Edith?
are you connected? No.
Yes. Good morning to all.
Yeah.
Good morning.
UNHCR.
Great.
I'm Ahmed Babafal, the UNHCR representative in Rwanda. Happy to be with you.
Thank you, Ahmed. You are most welcome to the meeting. All right. I think now I will hand over to the minister, or Taro, you deal with the partners first, then have the minister come in.
Okay. I will ask the partners to introduce themselves very briefly. And
very brief, yeah.
Yes, Lincoln University, represented by Ms. Gab. Go ahead.
1 second. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gil Pang. I'm with Lim Kok Wing University from Malaysia. We have 4 campuses in Africa. That's Botswana, Lesotho, Eswatini, and Sierra Leone. We are opening in Uganda and Namibia, actually in July. And we are preparing for a campus that is going to be accredited by the WDA in Rwanda. And hopefully we will have it actually open by the last quarter in this year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you. And each partner
right,
will have opportunity to introduce their projects later.
Yes.
And maybe just say hello. Yeah, the Microsoft.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Just say hello and introduce yourself. Microsoft, do you have Microsoft?
Yes. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Jay Richards Hill, and I'm the Senior Education Specialist for Microsoft in Middle East and Africa, based in Johannesburg.
Oh,
thank you very much. And the CD Networks?
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Wayne Rowe. I'm a sales manager working for CD Networks, based in London.
Okay, thank you. And Nat Jarkin?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Charlie speaking. Thank you very much for having us to present in the meeting. We are a technology player in China, so it was very nice to meet you all. Thank you, Excellencies.
Thank you. We also have Curious Learning.
So I'm Creason Nika, based in South Africa, Partnerships Director for Curious Learning.
Thank you. And ICEFIR. Dr. BJ, your mic is muted. Please unmute it.
Good morning. This is BJ. I'm Vice President of International Center of Excellence for Innovative Learning, based in the Netherlands.
Thank you. And the NISI Group?
Hi, good morning. My name is David Lester. I'm the Group Learning Services Director for NISI and based in the UK.
Thank you. And we also have distance education for Africa.
Yes, good morning. My name is Sidiki Traore. I am the President, Founder of Distance Education for Africa, based in the US and Nairobi.
Thank you. And Huawei, are you already with us?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Martha Muhwezi. I'm the Executive Director of FAWE, and we are based in Nairobi, but my team from FAWE Rwanda is also online. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And also we have Coursera, Mr. Chad. Maybe he's going to join us later, as he promised.
Okay.
And we have a new partner from Ching Hai University, Mr. Pan.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
And finally, my two colleagues, Natalia, please say hello.
Dear colleagues, good morning to all of you. It's a pleasure to meet to discuss with you the opportunities of cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you. And Svetlana, please. Svetlana, are you with us? Maybe not the moment. And I think we have all the partners already. Okay. Now over to you, Saidul.
Thank you very much, Taro. Excellent. Honorable Minister, I will now hand over to the Rwanda side for brief introductions. Then we'll move on to the next item on the program, which will be the welcome remarks by the SG NATCOM. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo. So from our side, I am the Minister of State in charge of ICT and TVET. Honorable Minister Dr. Valentin could not make it. I am with colleagues from the Ministry of Education side. Unfortunately, DG Rose Baguma, in charge of education policy and planning, could not make it on time. She just had an emergency that she had to attend to, but she's joining as soon as she's back. We have the Director General of Rwanda Education Board, Dr. Irene Ndayambaje. I think he's on the maybe
he's connected.
Yes. DG Irene.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hello.
Oh, good morning, DG.
Okay. All right.
We also have from the High Education Council.
Yeah.
We have the Executive Director, Dr. Rose Kangomeje. Please.
Good morning, everybody.
Can you see her?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
And then we have from the Workforce Development Agency, we have the Director General, Engineer Pascal Gatabazi. I'm not sure if he's connected, but if he is, please.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
DJ.
morning. Morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think from our side, that's about it. But then we also have the UNESCO team that we sometimes call our own. But I will let them introduce themselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes.
Dr. Mutesa?
Yeah.
Mutesa?
Yeah, I think, yes. Yeah, I'm Albert Mutesa, the Secretary General of the Commission for Unesco. I'm with a colleague, Dominique Vunabandi. He's a director in charge of science and technology within Rwanda NATCOM. So, and maybe the sector will join us. Yeah, that is it. For the side of Rwanda National Commission for UNESCO.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. Would that be all? Okay.
Yes, from our side,
I think that's all right. Thank you very much. I think there's one.
I'm also in the meeting. Probably Honorable Minister didn't know. Dr. James Gashumba, the Vice Chancellor of Rwanda Polytechnic.
How did I forget my own?
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Dr. James Gashumba, the Vice Chancellor of Rwanda Polytechnic. He's currently in Australia, so I didn't believe that he would make it.
Oh.
Yes. I think I have seen also on the list Vice Chancellor of Professor Cotton. I think there is other participant from Rwanda who maybe could, yeah. There is also Joroge. Maybe so those from you could.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Hello, everyone. From Fawe, Rwanda here. I know Martha introduced us, but I'm with my colleagues, Josephine and Theodore. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Great. Okay. We have one more colleague who works with UNESCO very closely in Rwanda. He is the one on the ground. I'm sure some of you had met him before. He is Pascal Rukundo. He's been there for quite a while working on different things, but this is a program that he has to work on. So he also is on the Rwanda side, but working with us here in Nairobi as well. All right. Having concluded the introductions, I think we basically know why we are here. We are meeting with government, with partners in the UN system to look at how we could support Rwanda, particularly Ministry of Education, to respond to the COVID outbreak as well as beyond COVID outbreak. So this is an exercise that we've been engaged in for quite some time. Since about February, March, we've been working with partners, and particularly April, we mobilized partners at the regional level here in Nairobi, and then invited them to show what solutions they have, what they can do. And we tried to also tap into the Global Coalition for Education, which comprise IT partners and non-IT partners who are working with particularly UNESCO and UNICEF launch the Global Partnership for Education to support, which consists of primarily IT partners to see how they can support member states to address the effects of COVID-19, particularly in the area of education. So we tap into that global coalition, which was also joined by a global business coalition, also looking at how the business community can also support governments to be able to support UNESCO and the UN partners to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. So this meeting we are doing today for Rwanda, we had done 5 others before. We started with South Sudan, went through to Uganda, Comoros. The last one we did was on the 23rd, this Tuesday. That was for Seychelles. So we are very happy to have the opportunity to do this meeting for Rwanda today. We've been working on it along with Pascal and the Secretary General, and we have some of the partners have some concrete offers that they want to do, and I will not talk about the solutions. I'll allow Taro to do that with the partners, but let me just say that it's a pleasure to be here, and we are very enthused that this meeting is taking place. Rwanda, obviously, in our region, Rwanda, I believe even in Africa, Rwanda is in the forefront of ICT development and utilization of ICTs in education, in other areas. All right. So that is recognized, and we are pleased to be with you to share that that honor. Notwithstanding, we know for a fact, just like in most sub-Saharan African countries, there are still challenges with regards to how education systems responding to the COVID or the post-COVID period, planning to respond to the post-COVID period. We know that just like sub-Saharan Africa, not every child is covered by the solutions that are available. So we need to be creative and see how we could reach every child, because our ultimate is to reach every child, leaving no one behind. And we have now only 10 years to do that. 2020 to 2030, we get to the end of the global agenda, 2030. Now, the challenges with regards to education, with regards to reaching everyone, with regards to leaving no one behind, provide quality education, provide ensure of equity and inclusion. All of those challenges are now compounded by the onset of this virus, coronavirus, which has found most government systems, education systems rather, unprepared. I must say, however, Honorable Minister, that way back in March, when many countries started closing down educational institutions, I somehow came across some piece in Uganda. Either Pascal sent it to me or I ran into it.
Thanks, David.
Where the Rwanda Education Board sent some message to teachers to continue teaching using the ICTs and using the training that they had been trained in using online platforms to teach and to assess and so on. You see, because I'm aware they had done that, because I was present where some of the training had taken place on e-assessment, training teachers on e-assessment, and it was wonderful that the country just said, teachers, the education board just said, teachers, go ahead and continue teaching using these platforms. And I think that's excellent. That is what we want every African country to be able to do on time, you see. So I don't want to speak too long. This is just to set this stage, as it were, and hand over to the Secretary General to do the Albert Mutesa to do the welcome remarks as a host at that end there. Over to you, Albert. Albert.
Yeah, yes, well, yeah. Good morning again.
Over to you for the opening remarks.
Yes, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, we can hear you.
No. Yes. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Of ICT and TVET and Rwanda. We thank guests and the participant to this webinar. Dear colleague, Unesco office and colleague here in Rwanda, to the Ministry of Education. On behalf of the Rwanda NATCOM, Rwanda National Commission for Unesco, let me first of all thank you all for honoring UNESCO invitation and attending this important virtual meeting for education, education. Relating to the mandate of the Rwanda NATCOM, I think UNESCO with its national partner, we are very glad, so glad today to welcome you all to this virtual meeting where we have a high-profile participant in education sector. Yeah, we can recognize the presence from Rwanda at high level for Minister of State in the Ministry of Education. But we have also in Rwanda the vice chancellors from academic high learning institutions, the director generals in charge of implementing education in Rwanda at a national level. Yeah, we have also our partner like FAWE in Rwanda, even at the regional level. But we have also the UN resident coordinator in Rwanda. It's a good one. We have UN agencies Mobilize for discussing on Rwanda, and there is also there must be different bilateral partners from DFID and JICA. Maybe they join us. We are very glad for Unesco Nairobi conveners of this webinar to always have in mind Rwanda when it comes for ICT solutions, ICT project. We have in mind the previous project on Korea found in trust. So we thank you, Madame Therese, and we extend our sympathy for her, that she's not now with us. But my role is simply, it was just to give you a warm welcome and to wish you a fruitful discussion on the main and current challenges of the education sector amid the COVID-19 pandemic and the possible solutions toward the Agenda 2030 achievement. And we will be committed to Rwanda NATCOM. We'll be ready to collaborate and to support in our humble contribution toward ICT solutions here in Rwanda. I thank you and wish you fruitful discussion, and I thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Albert, for that warm welcome. I think we'll proceed with the agenda, which indicates that Therese Nongjata, the regional director, would make a statement, her opening remarks at this point. And as I have said earlier, because of a situation beyond her control, she had asked me to step in for her. So we had prepared a statement for her. I will just rush through the statement. Basically, some of this is extracted from the invitation that was sent to you, the background, giving the background and so on. But then all the same, let me just read through the formalities first. The Honorable Minister of State in charge of ICT and TVET, Madam Claudette Irere, representing the Minister of Education, Permanent Secretaries and Ministries of Education and Ministry of ICT and Innovation, heads of Ministry of Education agencies, that includes the Rwanda Education Board and some of these other universities, Secretary General, Rwanda National Commission, UN Resident Coordinator, Mr. Fode Njai, and heads of UN agencies present, distinguished partners, heads of academic institutions, guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Andres goes to say, I'm delighted that this partners meeting for Rwanda is taking place, and indeed grateful that the Honorable Minister of State in charge of ICT and TVET at the Ministry of Education has found time amidst her busy schedule to join us. This is certainly an indication of the commitment of the minister and without doubt the government to education in Rwanda. Honorable Minister, as you are aware, recently most governments around the world have temporarily closed educational institutions in an attempt to contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. The nationwide closures are impacting over 91% of the world's student population, according to Unesco report released in April 2020. You will have realized that most countries in the world, which includes Rwanda, have adopted technology solutions to ensure continuing learning by distance during the closure of educational institutions. To a large extent, countries have deployed traditional mass media-based learning and teaching platforms like radio and television, and more modern technologies like digital e-learning and cloud-based platforms. While the use of these technologies have provided access to learning, the mass media-based technologies more commonly used are not interactive enough, or broadcasts do not cover the whole country, raising issues of quality, access, and equity. In addition, children from marginalized populations that do not have these devices, access to these devices that are needed to access the internet or the lessons, are not benefiting from the distance learning being provided. The prolonged closure of schools will certainly lead to a risk of regression for children whose basic learning was not strong and may negatively impact the most vulnerable children, including children and youth with disabilities and girls. With school closures, children are exposed to mental health issues, gender-based violence, early unwanted pregnancies and marriages and early marriages, HIV infections, just to mention a few, that are likely to have a bearing on the education sector. Also, while focusing on urgent needs, it is also imperative to think of the future of inclusive quality education in our countries. Now, conscious of these challenges and in the spirit of finding solutions to education disruptions and looking at the future of education beyond COVID-19 period, UNESCO, along with other UN agencies, including UNICEF, UNHCR, and WFP, at the regional level have convened development partners, continental regional organizations, technology partners, international non-governmental organizations, civil society organizations to agree on how to support countries in Africa during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of UNESCO, I am really grateful to the government of Rwanda and education partners for honoring our invitation today to discuss together and explore ways to ensure that learning for our children is supported during the post-COVID period as well. Today, Rwanda joins other countries in the region that have already convened this kind of forum, which includes Comoros, Kenya, Madagascar, Uganda, Seychelles, and South Sudan. I am glad that today we know how to collaboratively support the government of Rwanda through the Ministry of Education in ensuring the continuity of learning and training during and beyond the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting provides a platform to exchange and build a common understanding on opportunities existing and possible digital solutions, including offline modalities in the education and training sector in the following thematic areas. These are areas such as teachers, teaching and learning, equity, higher education and TVET solutions, digital content provision, and psychosocial support. This is where content for learners and trainees, teachers and parents and caregivers, that platform deals with that. Honorable Minister of State in charge of ICTs and TVET, ladies and gentlemen, within the framework of harnessing the potential of artificial intelligence and digital innovations to improve access to quality inclusive education, allow me to inform you that the UNESCO Institute for Information Technology in Education, that's the IIT, secured funds to implement a 2-year project entitled Integrating Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation to Strengthen Inclusion and Equity in Education in Africa. And the project will be implemented in Rwanda and Mauritius. Right? Today, we are happy to inform you that this project provides us with a stepping stone as we explore how to collaboratively work together. My colleague Taro will make a presentation on this project during this forum. After I conclude, I enjoined all of us, government, development partners, and technology partners, to ensure that no child is left behind as we deploy ICT and non-IT solutions to ensure accessible, equitable, and quality education for all. So I would thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Colleagues, that is the statement of the Antares Ndogjata, the regional director, which I have read. I'm sure without the characteristic passion that she conveys whenever she gives a statement. So going by the agenda, we now have, after the director speaks, we have the Honorable Minister of State responsible for ICTs, Madam Claudette, to give some remarks. Then we can proceed along with and move on with the agenda. Madam Honorable Minister, are you ready to proceed? Okay, Madam Claudette. Madam Claudette, are you ready to proceed?
It seems that the minister has a problem with her connectivity.
Yeah, it looks like it's frozen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. SG not come? SG not come? Could you kindly find out? It looks like the minister. Okay, Andrew.
Yes, Jalo.
I don't know what you can do from Nairobi, but the Honorable Minister, okay, I can see her moving now.
Yeah, she's come.
Oh, okay, she's moving now. Okay, good. Honorable Minister, I was saying in going by the program, you will unmute your mic. Unmute the mic.
So just as at the time when you introduced that I speak, electricity ministry just got lost. And so, but I'm a technologist, so I just did something. So, but thank you very much for the kind introduction. Once again, I'd like to convey on my behalf and on behalf of the Ministry of Education our sincere and deepest condolences to Mrs. Anne Perez for her loss. Our hearts and prayers are with her and her friends and family during this difficult time.
Thank you.
Now on to why we're here. I thank all the partners, the UN resident coordinator, everyone on here, all protocols duly observed. I'm delighted to join you in this virtual conversation, discussing the critical topics that pertains to the education sector, as well as supporting us throughout this period of COVID-19. As we are all aware, the education sector was one of the sectors mostly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Rwanda, like many other countries, schools were closed in March with the hopes that they would reopen soon. Now, with the trends that we currently see, the expected reopening is set by September, but with the trends that we currently see, we don't know that is even going to happen, but we hope. We have learned a lot from this pandemic. for the last few months. We are aware that if it happens today, it can reoccur again and again. And it's our duty as the education sector to ensure that going forward, something like this happens, we ensure continuity. We cannot afford to stop and halt education at the expenses of children, of students, when we've learned such a big lesson. Despite the unexpectedness of this pandemic, we've learned to cope, and learning remotely was one of the solutions. Distinguished partners, ladies and gentlemen, the e-learning came in at a time when Rwanda had invested heavily in ICT over the years. And when schools closed, in partnership with telecommunication companies and different other partners such as UNICEF and other partners, we ensured that at least there was some level of continuity for students. And so radio and TV lessons started. Web-based learning platforms were zero rated. Yes, in partnership with telecommunication companies. We started off with a few public institutions, but now we have over almost 20 e-learning sites, zero rated, currently of charge learners and for teachers as well. With these strides, though, there's still more to do. Our purpose is to ensure that no one is left behind. And we commend efforts such as these that bring partners, yes, student sister organizations, companies all over the world, at least on the continental level, development partners. We commend even all of them together to actually discuss a sustainable way of ensuring that everyone is indeed included. Distinguished partners, although, like I just mentioned, we've had some strides when it comes to e-learning, we still have challenges and gaps. To mention a few, connectivity countrywide is still a challenge. Given the overwhelming demand that all of a sudden was put on the infrastructure that we currently have, user responsiveness for all the e-learning platforms became a challenge. I'm not even talking about access. And this introduces my next challenge, which was devices. For many, devices is still a huge challenge. You know, basic devices such as computers, tablets, and even when lessons moved to radios and TV stations, we know that the majority of our learners could not afford to have these. And now, when it comes to now students or children with disabilities, content was not ready for them. Although some of the partners, such as Rwanda Education Board, you know, are coming up with solutions on how to ensure that the students with disabilities are included, but at the very beginning, these children were not catered for. Another big challenge that we face is that for TVET learners, because most of their learning is practical, they could not find the resources and the materials that could actually help them during this time while they're at home. And so we've got to do more. We've got to partner around the technical and vocational education training, because at times like these, we realize that this section of students is not catered for as well. We thank UNESCO and other UN agencies for the opportunity of convening all of us today to discuss how to support African countries during this period. We commend the efforts. We look forward to the upcoming project that Rwanda and Mauritius are going to benefit from, and be curious to learn more about that. We're working very hard to find long-term solutions that respond to not only COVID-19, but to other potential pandemics that could come in the future. We're also working very hard to ensure that post-COVID-19, when reopening schools takes place, students are safe and are taken care of. And should anything like this happen, they are in an environment that support them. And I think you talked about it, the psychosocial support that needs to happen around this time to ensure that partners, the supporting environment is really taking into consideration the effects of COVID-19. While we think of solutions, we still need to address issues related to quality, like I just said, access and relevance, and equity as well as basic principles of any type of education delivery. These meeting deliberations of today are invaluable to us, to the Rwandan education sector. I wish all of us fruitful deliberations, and thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I can see Taro is clapping for you. So thank you very much, Honorable Minister of State, for those remarks. They are certainly well situated in the context that we are operating in now. You did mention the challenges that are still present, that still exist, which is typically the same, similar in most of the countries in the region or on the continent. So we will be dealing with some of these as we go during the presentations, and you see how some of these could be addressed. But the connectivity is a basic problem. Devices, access to devices, another problem. Content for children with disability, normally they can be forgotten, but that should not happen. You'll see how that can also be sorted out. TVET also is another area. If you notice during the statement from Antares, there's one of the areas or platforms, we call them, in addition to teachers and so on and psychosocial support, there is this one platform that looks at higher education and TVET together. And I think we will work further on that. And this project that Taro will introduce has higher education and technology related issues, AI and innovation, which is slightly different. It's a higher level TVET, if you like, the TVET you meant. So we will also look at how trainers and learners of TVET will also be supported with content, with learning resources, and so on and so on. So thank you very much, Honorable Minister. If you go and continue on the agenda to save time, we have lost a bit of time. It's already almost 1 hour. It's already almost 1 hour since we started, but I would like to now, it's my pleasure to invite the resident coordinator of the UN system in Rwanda, Mr. Fode Njai. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Jallo and Nyakubava Minister. Really greetings, and I stand with the existing protocol. It's really a pleasure to be part of this important meeting, and again extend my deepest condolences with my profoundest compassion and my greatest sympathy to my sister Anne-Therese. I have sent her a message and she already has replied on that. My role will be very easy because I have experts here. So my role would be really to set a little bit of stage regarding the UN and Rwanda itself. I will have three categories of remarks. One, why education and technology are important for the Agenda 2030, the Agenda 2063, and of course, the Rwanda Vision 2050 and National Strategy for Transformation. Second would be some key elements to be considered in our discussion. And third would be how we can enhance partnership and what role UN could play in that matter. Regarding the first one, I think this crisis has shown us how important human capital and technology are in really not only fighting this COVID-19, but at the same time building back better and greener, as some people mention in areas. And it is important because technology is not it's a means to an end and not an end by itself. So it should be used in a wiser way of really increasing inclusive growth and sustainable development, and that's, I think, is important. Now for Rwanda, I think Rwanda has made a very good choice by having a service-based economy and putting emphasis, as the minister mentioned, on innovation. But to have that, you need really to have a strong human capital. And yet there we need to push the boundaries, because if you look at the Human Development Index, Rwanda has made greatest effort, but still we have 0.524 of Human Development Index. And if you look at the newly developed World Bank Human Capital Index, Rwanda ranked 142 out of 157 countries. So it is important that we keep on putting emphasis on human capital development in order to make sure that we implement successfully the national strategy for transformation and pushing forward the development agenda in this country. Rwanda also, and globally, we say that in order to move forward out of this pandemic and recover, it is important that we build resilience institutions, system, and communities. But yet you cannot do it if you don't have strong human capital, if you don't share knowledge, if you don't have the required capability in technology in supporting all the factors that are important in development side. And development should be risk informed. And one of the important aspects is really to understand the risk. And I think also education and technology are playing an important role in that matter. Now, some key elements to be considered. One is, and the minister mentioned it, I think the SDGs, unlike the MDGs, put focus not only on access, but on quality education. And we can see that here also the principle of equity and the principle of inclusiveness is important. And I'm glad that we have all the colleagues from UNESCO, UNICEF, and WFP, but also UNHCR, the refugees, the returnees, which are also important part of this inclusivity. And I'm glad as well that the minister mentioned it, the aspect of disability. I know that Rwanda have inclusive education policy and strategies, and they are looking at this holistic approach of education that we need to consider. Second elements on key aspect that I want us to consider is I think we need to have a whole of government and a whole of society approach. Because it's not education is a key to unlock various aspects. Therefore, it is important that we mainstream this aspect of education and technology through all the elements that are important really in dealing with this knowledge sharing and human capital building. And I think in that matter, Rwanda also has put forward some key elements that putting together will help support that. One is they have a strong youth and culture program, and from the UN side also we have the youth joint program that is supporting, in addition to the Secretary General Youth Strategy and the GNU that I'm sure UNICEF will talk about. It's not only about knowledge, it's about principles and values that are important, and this education aspect should be broadened in that matter. Third element, I do think that building back better and having a strong sustainable development requires entrepreneurship development. So it is important that this education also includes skills development, as the minister mentioned on TVET, in agriculture, in other areas that are important, and that I think also would be an important piece to be considered in our discussion. I think within even the UN, we need to broaden it, because there are some agriculture, I know that there are support in platform and supporting farmers to have opportunities in that mass. Don't want to take too much of your time. I would just want, and this is my third category, is that I do think that this whole of society should also trigger broader partnership. And I can see that Rwanda in that aspect also is a good pick, because we have here a university like the Carnegie Mellon, which is putting focus also on that. We have Smart Africa, we have the SDG Center, we have also from the UN side, the United Nations Technology Innovation Lab, we have the UNDP Accelerator Lab. So all these are putting together ingredients that help us deliver on this important agenda. Last point I do think that we need to consider is you can continue counting on the UN as a whole. Colleagues will speak on their specific agenda, but even on our United Nations cooperation framework, this aspect of education and access to social services, including the human rights aspect, the aspect of refugees, the nexus, peace, humanitarian and development, all these are taken into account to support this broad aspect of education in a broader sense and pushing forward the boundaries of this development. And I am sure that this will be the case in Rwanda, and I'm glad that Rwanda has been picked to support this, to be included, and ITU and others could also be in a way supporting that, as well as putting focus on this gender and family promotion, which is also a critical factor, as we can see that parents now are teachers. So they need also to be brought into the, the equation of the capacity of teaching and using technology. And thank you very much. And I think the minister has said it all. And I wanted just to add that one. One key challenges I'm seeing is the aspect of financing for development and the sustainability. In the midst of this crisis, we are having debt sustainability issue. The budget is shrinking, revenue is shrinking, while at the same time spending is increasing. FDI is, dropping. ODA is dropping. Remittances are dropping. I think one aspect that we need to look at, how do we finance all this in a sustainable way by bringing in the private sector also in the equation. Thank you very much, and wish all of us really a very good and fruitful deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, RC, for those wise words and the guidance, as well as not guarantees, is too strong a word I would want to use in this case, but the assurance rather that the UN system is behind the country, Rwanda, to support it in its development efforts. And of course, we know the challenge you mentioned about financing education, which obviously is going to be a big challenge, despite the good intentions of partners and donors and the donor community, for the mere fact that finances are shrinking. This COVID-19 pervades all countries in the world, all corners of the world now. All are impacted. Revenues are impacted. FDI is dropping naturally, understandably, and so on and so on. And of course, it all has an impact, a negative or adverse effect on debt servicing and debt sustainability, and all the criteria that are relevant in that sphere of life. But that sphere also impacts on education adversely. So yes, it's something that we need to pay attention to, and I think we are hoping that partners in this forum and will be able to contribute their share in one way or the other, on whatever arrangements are possible to alleviate the effects of this pandemic on financing of education or accessing the education in Rwanda. So it is also my pleasure, RC, the rest of the accountability program, the rest of the youth country team. We have, I think, if I have them in this order, I have UNICEF, WFP, UNDP, UNHCR. They can in turn say a few remarks. They have guest remarks. They are saying 5 minutes each, but they please feel free to just make some brief remarks so that we proceed with the main activity on the education sector preparedness and response plan. So over to you, UNICEF representative.
Thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues and Honorable Minister. I'm conscious of time, so I just want to say a couple of brief things. First, thank you, of course, for organizing the discussions. The role of ICT in education is for UNICEF a very important issue. We've been working together with the government of Rwanda and others on GIGA in order to get all schools connected, on data management systems, on ways that teachers can use ICT on a daily basis. So it's something that we're very committed to and very keen to support. We're also quite conscious that it's no substitute for real teaching in the classroom, but technology can be incredible aid to the teaching in the classroom. And obviously in this situation with COVID, we're having to readjust some things, and sometimes it is the only thing that can be done. But as the Minister of State said, hopefully in September, the kids can go back to school and things move forward. There is one thing I want to point out, which is a possible risk that we all need to be aware of, and that is, you know, everything on the internet is not positive. And unfortunately, when children are on the internet, they are then sometimes exposed to nefarious characters, to detrimental information. And so along with the encouragement of access to internet and to devices, we also need to give children the guidance that everything there is not good. They need to protect their personal information. And there are different ways that this can be done. In fact, the ITU just put out yesterday some new protocols on child online protection. In closing, I just want to reiterate again our support to the initiative, that we absolutely recognize that for children, for young people, and that relates to Generation Unlimited, and adults to be successful in today's world, there's simply no way around that we have to have technological literacy. And finally, let me just give an apology. I will have to leave at 11:30 for another meeting, but my colleague Sarah McGinty, our Chief of Education, is on, so she'll listen to the rest of the meeting as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juliana. Yes, for the work you are doing with the Rwanda. So, and of course, we note this child safety online is extremely important. Let's now move on to the next UN colleague. Is it Edith?
Yes, it is. Good
Excellent.
morning again, Excellencies. And I will start with my apology. Before I even start my remarks, I will also have to leave soon for another meeting. But as I mentioned in my introduction, we do have a number of our staff present here and our technical team for further discussion. Let me start with a few words about what WFP has been doing in Rwanda in the education sector, because WFP is maybe not for all of you, you're maybe not all familiar with what we're doing. So we have been supporting Rwanda with the improvement of school health and nutrition through school feeding since 2000. So this is, of course, a partnership. We have been working with the Ministry of Education, but also with the Ministry of Agriculture, with the Rwanda Biomedical Center, with the district authorities in the 4 districts where we have been implementing, but also with NGO partners such as World Vision and Garden for Health. And so it's not only a daily school meal in the schools, but it's also linked with other activities such as wash facilities, deworming, and also linking up with smallholder farmers for delivery of food to the schools. And so we have been working with the Rwanda government on the operationalization for the national school feeding program, and this is through capacity building, but also policy and strategy work, and through our work in the technical education sector working group, as well as we are co-chairs of the national school feeding technical working group. And in this capacity, we're definitely committed to supporting children's nutrition and well-being during the school closure, as well as after the school reopening. I want to kind of place this a little bit in a wider context and say, like in Rwanda, but globally also, in Rwanda, a lot of children are out of school at the moment. And because they're out of school, they don't only miss out on the access to education they have, but they also miss out on vital nutrition and health support. And these are things that are very important also to allow them to study, to learn, and to grow. And so this is really saying that schools are not just an education institution, they're also a platform for access to nutritious meals, basic health and nutrition services as well. And so we have to think about how, now that this platform is closed, how in an innovative way can we still reach the children with both education but also these other services that they're missing out on. And in Rwanda, we have been working very closely with the Ministry of Education, but also with the local government on still trying to deliver food to children even while schools are closed. If you look at WFP worldwide, we see that in a lot of countries, WFP together with governments have organized take-home rations for children or have substituted it by cash in lieu of the daily school meals. And so we have been looking at how can we still reach out. When we look at support from WFP side to the government in reopening, we are committed, of course, to support the government in their comprehensive national school feeding program, which they have announced will start in September, where they are extending the school feeding, not just where we were today, but to all students, pre-primary all the way up to secondary in the country. And this is not just a good way from a nutrition and health point of view, but it can also act as an incentive to make sure that children are coming back to school when the schools reopen. Of course, what we're already working on with the government is setting up safe hygiene measures, expanding wash facilities in the school, but also working around food safety and proper distancing measures in place. And additionally, the sector working group on education in Rwanda has been talking about distance learning programs, and this has been mentioned by some of the colleagues as well as the measures that I've mentioned. I already mentioned that we have been working on the policy and strategy level. One of the things we have been recently working on with the government is the school feeding operational guidelines. And what we have done with this is also work on digital contents like videos. And we've made those available for training and learning needs, including for building capacity of school committees. So this is something that can be done even without physical presence as well. Another thing on the digital side, because from the WFP side, the digital side is not the most extensive one if you compare to other activities for school feeding. We are also working on a new school feeding data module to be included in the existing school data management system. And let me close by saying that we are there to work with the government for the scale up of the national school feeding program, which is going to start in September. As I said, this is a significant undertaking, but we are committed. And we're also happy to be here today in this meeting about IT and non-IT solutions in education in regard to COVID-19. And we're here, and the team will be here to further share and learn in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Edith, for that presentation. And thank you for the work you are doing and supporting the government in the various ways you are doing in the school feeding programs, in the IT initiatives that you already have. And let me also mention here that at the regional level, WFP is one of our key partners working with us in this COVID thing. And we had requested Anne-Therese, the regional director of UNESCO, had requested the regional director of UNICEF, UNESCO, UNICEF, UNHCR, WFP to communicate with their country representatives in the countries, in the region, to just let them know about this, that we are working together and we need to continue working even at the country level. So we look forward to continuing to work with you and to work with you in Rwanda at the country level. Thank you very much, Edith. Yes, you can. I know, just like UNICEF lady who will be leaving us shortly for another meeting. We understand there are several meetings that are going on at the moment. So, but we are honored to have your presence and thank you very much for the support. We'll now, We'll now, according to the program, move on to I think it's UNHCR, UNDP. Is it? We are the UNDP representative there. Okay,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, good morning.
My internet is not so good, but I hope it will be okay. I put in the chat. Apologies on behalf of UNDP management team. They're chairing another ministerial meeting. And so they send their regrets for not making it to this meeting. But I'm here and I'll take note and I'll convey after what will take place in the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We understand and we note the message they have sent through you, but we still look forward to working with them within the country to see how we can reduce the effects of the COVID-19 on the systems, even after the pandemic. The UNHCR is the next speaker. Do you have a representative there? UNHCR, you are welcome. Over to you.
Good morning, Mr. Jallo. Good morning, Honorable Minister. Good morning to all the participants. And thank you for inviting UNHCR Rwanda to this important meeting on education sector response to COVID-19 and beyond. I wish, first of all, to express my deepest gratitude to the government of Rwanda for its commitment to enhancing refugee access to quality education in Rwanda. In 2016, the government of Rwanda pledged to integrate refugee students into Rwanda national education system. Along the same lines, in December 2019, the government pledged to further enhance education capacity, quality, and inclusiveness. Furthermore, Rwanda committed to ensure refugee access to technical and vocational education and training, TVET. With our partners and in cooperation with the government of Rwanda, To facilitate refugee education integration process, we have worked together in upgrading and improving the absorption capacity of national schools through construction of additional classrooms and other education infrastructures, providing scholastic materials and provision of school feeding, recruitment and training of teachers. As a result, by now, 90% of refugee students are enrolled in national primary and secondary schools following the national curriculum and awarded with national certificate equally as Rwandans. We commend the government for such a remarkable achievement. As regard to preparedness and response plan to COVID-19, while schools are closed, refugee students follow the distance learning programs broadcasted by Rwanda Education Board via videos and televisions.
Yeah.
Despite all the efforts, the living conditions in the camps doesn't permit access to the necessary tools and technology to access distance learning. Whether someone is national or a refugee, at the end of the day, children are children. So as the country progresses towards the sustainable development goals, applying the principles of leaving no one behind, more investment are required. We still have a long way to go to ensure that schools attended by refugees and host communities have enough classrooms, libraries, and science labs to ensure quality education. Our schools are reopening in September 2020. We need to ensure that students and teachers have access to COVID-19 prevention measures, including adequate wash facilities, hygiene supplies, especially schools that are hosting a big number of students. I pledge on behalf of UNHCR our continued commitment to the government's efforts for fulfilling its commitment on integration of refugees into national education and COVID-19 response programs. Once again, I thank you all for your continued cooperation and support. I will be leaving the meeting in half an hour, but my colleagues are there, my technical colleagues who are dealing with education and protection will continue with you this meeting. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Muzofal, for the support you are doing and your presence here as well. And we also understand that there are other meetings that you may have to attend to. Thank you very much. Colleagues, Honorable Minister, we are now approaching the section of the agenda where we'll have the Minister of Education and its different parastatals or agencies under it to present to us, the partners and everybody else, the education sector preparedness and response plan to COVID-19, the current situation, the needs in the education subsectors, and so on. So we have a series of speakers there. I wanted my colleague Awol Enris to handle this segment, but if I can't see him here yet, but all the same, we will now hand over to the, let's see, the first speaker. The first speaker is the PS Minister of Education, or the DG Education Policy and Planning. I understand the DG Education Policy and Planning also would be representing the PS also, but the next speaker is the representative of the Permanent Sector of Education, the Minister of Education, or the DG Education, who will speak. After him, we will go on to the DG Rwanda Education Board, and the other, the TVET, the DG Rwanda Education Board, DG World Development Agency, and the Agency Director at the Higher Education Commission, and then we'll have the PS of the Minister of ICT. But I would have suggested if the PSs could speak one after the other sequentially. After the PS Minister of Education speaks, then the PS Minister of ICT speaks, then we can have the DG Rwanda Education Board and the Executive Director of the Higher Education. If that is acceptable to you, Minister, we can proceed that way. Okay. All right. So shall we have can we have rather the PS, Minister of Education, or his representative to do the presentation? This one.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Rose Baguma. I'm a Director General in charge of policies and planning at the Ministry of Education. I'm representing the PS from the Ministry of Education, who is not with us right now. And apologies, I joined late. I had some emergency. So mine wouldn't be a real presentation, but I'll just give a summary and brief overview of the education sector, and then all other details will be given by my colleagues in HEC, in WDA, and Rwanda Education Board.
Okay.
As concerned, in Rwanda, we have different levels. Should I continue?
Rose Baguma, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have different levels from pre-primary up to higher education, and these are represented here in subsectors. From basic education, we have TVET subsector, and higher education, where we have universities and higher learning institutions. And as far as ICT, from basic education, we have embedded ICT in education, following our policy, ICT in education policy, where we have to use ICT not just as a subject or something that children need to learn at school, but also as a tool, as a learning tool, so that we use it in education. That's why we introduced some smart classrooms and distribution of computers, and, projectors, and trying to connect schools with electricity and internet so that we realize goals in ICT in education. And that's where we started e-learning platforms. And I think now with the COVID-19 pandemic, we've realized that we need ICT more than ever before. So we had learning platforms, but now they're vibrant, and that's when we see the real need in our education system. So we embrace this, and any support, any partnership to make sure that these systems and ICT tools are enhanced. So wherever, not just in schools, not just when they're in class, but wherever they are, as we're using remote learning right now. So from basic, have our Rwanda Polytechnic on the side of TVET and higher learning institutions, and they're all right now using the e-learning platform. So I won't take much of this time. I'll let my colleagues also go into a little bit of details on what we are doing and the challenges we are facing, and maybe further support that we'll need from different partners. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rose. So do we elaborate on with your partners, or do we just have the ICT PS to make a statement?
I think we should go to the ICT and then DGs.
Yeah, come back for the elaborate. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your understanding. Yes, so it's my pleasure to now invite the PS Minister of ICT to make some remarks or to do a presentation, oral or otherwise. Thank you. PS Minister of Education, Minister of Information, ICT, over to you.
Hello, I'm not sure he's on the call.
Yes. Are you not sure he's on the call? Okay, we can go back to and have the education team continue their presentation and see whether by then the PS ICTs would have been able to connect. All right. So let's have the DG Rwanda Education Board dealing with basic education, and then we'll have the DG WDA in that order, the Executive Director Higher Education Commission. So DG Rwanda Education Board, over to you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I would go straight to the challenges that we are facing through what we are calling remote learning. Honorable Minister of State in charge of primary and the second, in charge of ICT and TVET, sorry, mentioned actually that today, beyond e-learning platform, which is zero-rated, we are using TV, radio station, but also a mobile application, which is again free or subsidized. I want to jump on the challenges so that actually this becomes the entry point for support. For instance, when we talk of e-learning platform, we can see that only 3.3% of Rwandans have computers. So that is, of course, a challenge, meaning that even if we are using e-learning platform, but you can see that very little children have access to these computers because only 3.3% of the parents have laptops in the houses. And of course, this laptop might be, again, be used by the parent because of working from home and so forth. So meaning that we need to make sure that we have as many devices as possible and need to go beyond the classroom to reach even households. Secondly, the internet. Internet, again, though our e-learning platform is subsidized, but according to EICV5 survey, we can see that only 17.4% of the Rwandans have internet in their houses. So again, we need more investment in this area, and we need more companies to come with affordable rates of internet. Again, the other channel we are using, which is radio, we can portray how many Rwandans do have radio in their houses. We have so far 77.2% of the Rwandans having their own radio post, but you can imagine the remaining portion, which is not negligible, about 23%. So, and most of the vulnerable houses or the poor families, they are the ones having many kids. So, and most of these, they are still in the primary level of education. So, meaning that we need players to come with subsidized solar energy radios, or even if these can be provided free, that would be very much appreciated. Like, for instance, in the case of Rwanda, we started distributing free solar radio under the support of Save the Children, and we are welcoming more partners to come in so that at least we can give equal chances to education to these children. Again, much we are using TV. How many households do have TVs? According to the survey of 2010, only 11.4% of the households have TV in their houses. So you can still imagine that there is a big gap to bridge. Again, parental engagement. In one of the previous presenter talked about the parent becoming the teacher. It is good that we are saying the parent has become the teacher, and even the parent is becoming the head teacher and the discipline master, playing all the roles at once. But how many parents are engaged? How many parents are making sure that their kids are ready to run, or even that they are attempting the exercises being given at a distance? So we need to educate the parent on how best they can play the educational role, going beyond feeding kids, but how do you play the role of the teacher in the house? So again, another challenge is how are we engaging our teachers now? The ICT investment that were done so far in terms of laptops in the primary school or even secondary schools, the ICTs were meant actually for schools, not for individual teachers. So we are finding a big gap now, even to support our teachers through what we are calling CPD, Continuous Professional Development Courses, because about 83.5% of our teaching force do not have their own laptops. So this is a very big gap. if we were to engage our teachers, for instance, through training, or if we were to request them to follow up on the remote learning, most of our teachers are left outside. And again, considering their monthly earnings, especially primary schools, they can hardly afford the what I can call the price of a computer. It is good that in this meeting we are having Huawei and other companies. So we need really subsidized computers, because the average rate now, which is 280,000 Rwandan francs, is very high when you compare the monthly earning of a primary school teacher. So we advocate that really we get laptops for teachers under a subsidized framework. Otherwise, what we are trying, we hope that it is at least a learning experience. And as mentioned by Honorable Minister of State in charge of ICT and the TVET, we need not to abandon the learned lesson, but we build on the same to have what we can call a resilient education system. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, the representative of our Rwanda Education Board. The challenges are noted. I think this is precisely the reason why we are having this. Countries are already reacting. They are doing things in response to the COVID, but there are gaps that need to be addressed or filled. And I think it's good that you started with the gaps and mentioned the gaps that relate to all this. I will not repeat, we don't have time. So basically, I'll just invite the next speaker, who is the DG WDA.
Hello?
Yes, you are welcome, sir.
Excellencies, good morning again. My name is Pascal Gatabazi. I have a few points here to make, actually building on what my colleague, the Director General from Rwanda Education Board has mentioned, that is a cross-cutting from the education sectors. So me, from the technical and vocational education perspective, I'll make a few comments. Number one, the bigger picture is that irrespective of how deadly COVID-19 has been and could be, but there are positive lessons learned, which we can bring on board to have positive outcomes. So one of it, for example, quickly to mention, is effective virtual meeting, the one we are using now. I think this has been an experience that virtual meetings can be very effective. This is one of the lessons we are learning. So quickly, as a country, I think there is where we cannot go back. Building on technology, we have seen that virtual learning is possible. What is important is to put policies in place to support based on technology to support remote learning, or what we can call a distance learning, etc. So I want to make a few points. I'm going to capture issues to do with content. We need to have the right content. We need to have tools. We need to have platforms to deliver this content, etc. So when I talk about the content, it is important to continue to digitalize our content. In Rwanda, we have our own ADML. This is the Africa Digital Multimedia Academy, which is supporting us to digitalize content. This is very key. This is very important. One would wonder, how can you train practical skills through remote learning, through using technology? So research shows that computer modeling and simulation, the cognitive learning, a student can reach 80% of cognitive learning using technology, computer and modeling and simulation. So I would say to a big extent, a kid can learn through modeling and simulation, and then the remaining 20% can be learned when they go to the real hands-on touching. So we do see a big deal of learning using modeling and simulation. By making this, by having the right tools also, we have seen possible live streaming live streaming and the interactive learning. This is also possible. We have a positive experience already, which we need to have the right policies in place to support. So this, I touched a bit of the content. One can expand it, but number two, I wanted also to touch on tools. Which tools are we having? So if I start with the biggest enabler, the internet, to what extent my brother, the Director General of Higher Education of Rwanda Education Board, has touched on, but we need to have partners on board so that we increase the bandwidth, the right bandwidth, educational bandwidth. We have seen telecom companies coming on board to support us with the dedicated education bandwidth, which would support learning. So that was more of the internet, and then definitely you need to have the gadgets, computers, smartphones, etc. Irrespective of the part of the society that could be having these gadgets, but we need to embark on it. We cannot go back. We need to embark on it and see how best we can make good use of them and continue to support communities to access smartphones. In Rwanda, in one or the other, we are also lucky that we have these companies producing these gadgets within the country. So the government is putting the right policies to increase the penetration of these gadgets in our communities. This is a very good experience that can be emulated to other communities of Africa. So when we talk about the platform, yes, we have seen the Rwanda Education Board doing very good programs running on TV and radio. But when we succeed on digitalizing our content and streaming our content, we can embark on other platforms like YouTube. We have seen some schools organizing Zoom. We have seen some schools organizing Zoom interactive classrooms, which has been a very good experience, which can be also scaled up. But it's a very good experience that is going on within our country, that we have seen some schools engaging in the live classroom through Zoom platform and other platforms. So we can upload these materials on YouTube and expand. So COVID, as I started saying, irrespective of how deadly COVID could be, but there are very good positive lessons we are learning, and we cannot afford to go back. We have to embark and make good use of them for positive outcome. Of course, like my colleague said, we need to bring teachers on board. Right now, in my area, we are engaging the training of trainers. We have ongoing training of trainers so that our teachers are empowered with skills to use these tools so that we continue to harness the power of technology. So I want to conclude by saying that we have seen that remote learning is possible. We need to put the right policies in place and put together our efforts, bring partners on board so that we continue the penetration of gadgets and other tools. Thank you so much. Otherwise, I have a presentation I can share. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, my brother, for that presentation. And the content in the presentation is noted. So I believe we would have, is the PS ICT already here? If not, we'll see whether we can squeeze him at some point during the meeting. So as per the, before we move on to, the Executive Director of Higher Education Commission.
Yes.
Are you there? Oh, good.
Yes,
good.
I'm
You are most
here.
welcome. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the floor and the opportunity to explain or maybe to share what we are trying to do in higher education. Most of the challenges and issues have been raised. Rwanda has opened higher education to private sector. We have almost 29 private higher institutions, which has a big number, and we have 2 public. But when COVID came in, it was like a shock. We were not ready, and most of those high learning institutions are living or depending on the school fees paid by the student. So which means when we were obliged to close, issue of paying staff, issue of continuing to support students was a challenge. The ministry has organized several meetings with them to see what can be done to support students. And we realize also that even if during our continuous assessment we are conducting as higher education, we have always been telling higher institutions to make sure that they have platforms, that they try to embrace e-learning, but things were not coming as they should. So now we are witnessing that we lack, and there are insufficiency of distance learning infrastructure. Minister has said it, ICT tools, internet connectivity, because our students now are at home. There is an issue of platforms. The ministry has been supporting just to have free platforms for those free learning for those who have platforms. Issue of even teachers at the higher education level, they were not prepared, which is really a challenge. And what we have also realized is that we cannot avoid issue of e-learning. This post-COVID has to bring and to put a lot of effort on e-learning. So our core here is the needs we do have. We are thinking, as we are discussing with UNESCO, with other development partners, UNESCO is specialized in education. So we think there is a need to support Rwanda, support higher education in this area of expertise on e-learning and distance learning specifically. Even to look at our policy documents, how can we improve them and make sure that even if tomorrow there is no more. Do you hear me?
Can I check?
Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
So I was afraid I was lost. So no, issue of having experts in this area on distance learning to assist us in the review of policy documents, which regulate ODL education and participate in assessment for accreditation and quality assurance for those programs. Also support for the institutions, the universities, those they need really to develop the ODL e-learning platforms for program delivery. Of course, all of us who have talked about issue of acquiring ICT tools for students, and of course, capacity development. In this area of the UN coordinator has raised the issue of capacity development, which is key for Rwanda, of course, during this period we have had all of us. So thank you, hand over to you.
Thank you very much, the representative of the Higher Education Commission. I think according to the program, we have now come to the end of that, except where the PS Minister of ICT, if he's here, but we understand he's not yet. So we will proceed with the next part of the program, which is also very critical, as crucial as the one, this one just concluded, the previous one. So I'll hand over to my colleague Taro, who will introduce the partners and go to and introduce them and they make their presentations very quickly. So over to you, Taro.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Saito. Again, Honorable Minister and dear colleagues, it's a great honor and pleasure for UNESCO Institute IITE to join our colleagues Nairobi office for this important meeting together with quite a number of partners around the globe. And unfortunately, we have only a very limited time for the presentation, but I believe it's a great opportunity for the partners to introduce very briefly, however, very clearly, their resources and projects, what they can offer for Rwanda and for Africa. And each of them will have 3 minutes for a very brief presentation. And I think this will be make them and for the both sides to be very prepared for the follow-up one-to-one discussion after this meeting. Now I will follow the order of the agenda, the list of partners. The first one is from City Networks. The floor is yours.
Yes, hi, hello. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time. I'll just now share my screen, and I'll be very quick.
Okay, 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, good afternoon, Your Excellency, Mr. Sedu Jalu. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Wayne Rowe, the representative from CD Networks. First, I'd like to convey my deepest condolences to Miss Anne Therese for her loss, and our thoughts and prayers are with her and her loved ones. Thank you. To start with, I would like to express my sincere sympathy to those who are affected by COVID-19, as well as to share my deepest gratitude to the courageous people who are fighting against the pandemic on the front lines. This, of course, includes teachers all around the world. I'm delighted and proud to be here today in order to join and support the Global Education Coalition organized by UNESCO. CD Networks was founded in the year 2000, and over the past 20 years, we have expanded globally to become one of the world's largest content delivery network providers with a global infrastructure footprint covering most of the world we live in today. We have helped many organizations by delivering our content in regions where traditional internet access and connectivity has been found to be difficult. And we hope to use our latest technologies and vast experience to help deliver in hard to reach regions and countries in and around Africa. As a content delivery network provider, we accelerate and secure internet-based content. We have 1,500 points of presence around the world and 12 global offices to deliver 24/7 services to our customers. Our vision is to remain at the forefront of cutting-edge technology that accelerates and secures the internet for all types of content, including video, to help teachers and students be connected, be it courseware students would need to download to complete their homework. As a global IT services provider and leader in our field, we take our corporate social responsibility seriously and are well on the way to becoming a fully fledged coalition member. This will enable us to work closely with UNESCO and other coalition members to best leverage our network infrastructure located both in and around Africa to deliver our services to academic institutions. We stand committed to work with UNESCO and other coalition partners to help African institutions and students in need.
1 more minute to go.
Okay, thank you. So how can we help today? Well, we have POCs in South Africa, both in Cape Town and Johannesburg, Egypt and Djibouti, and importantly, for Rwanda, Tanzania. Plus, we have an additional 15 POPs near Africa that can be used across the continent. We understand the large-scale adoption of online education will likely result in high concurrency, connectivity issues, network congestion, and increased cybersecurity threats. So we will ensure we provide students and educational institutions in Africa with a best-in-class service and security to ensure all are fully protected online.
Okay.
It is our great honor to work alongside the global leading companies who are offering their technologies and resources and experience to the affected regions through this coalition. We will provide UNESCO with our platform and technologies via our performance acceleration solutions, which accelerates web-based content and also helps to deliver content and applications with optimal performance. Our security solutions will help secure higher education providers from cyber threats as an additional layer of protection. We are glad to work with all coalition members, starting with proof of concepts to see how we can best deliver the performance to institutions in Africa. Many of you are already aware of Moodle, the open source learning platform. We are working with the largest Moodle provider in Africa for large-scale deployment in higher education sectors. So if required, we are ready and able to work together as a team to help fight COVID-19 and deliver e-learning online and offline services in Africa. This of course includes live stream media related requirements.
Okay.
Finally, our vision is to provide every student with smooth access to internet and knowledge. We look forward to working collaboratively with Unesco and the other coalition members to help ensure the continuity of education. Together we will win during this challenging time to ensure Rwanda not only bounce back, but also bounce forward from this pandemic. Thank you all for
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Weiner. I understand it's very challenging to make a very brief presentation within 3 minutes. And thank you again. And the next partner is NetDragon.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Could you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Let me share my screen first.
Yes.
Do let me know if you can see my screen, please.
Now we can see it. Go ahead.
Okay. Salama. Dear Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Charlie from NetDragon. It's my great honor to be here today. A lot of you may not know who we are, so please allow me to introduce NetDragon and our proposals. Well, NetDragon is a Hong Kong listed company. It's a China-based technology player. We've been around for about 20 years, and we employ nearly 7,000 people worldwide. And as you can see the screen, this is actually our headquarters. At the moment, we are focusing on e-learning. We have been traditionally a player in the games and also Apple Store. In the last several years, I think we increased our focus on e-learning and more recently transfer our skills and invest heavily on education. Since 2014, our company has extended globally by acquiring a few companies and extended business overseas. Promethean acquisition is one of them. They make interactive whiteboards, tablets, class response system known as ClassFlow, which helps students and teachers interact in a real-time setting. We also have another one called Art Media, which is Toronto listed. It's a holographic projection company. They make interactive holographic projection in concerts, seminars, and real-time setting. For education, we believe it is lifelong. So we develop a system and user experience that are catering for K-12, university, and vocational. So different needs are different assets we have. In 2018, we acquired iModel, which is the largest communication and content platform in the K-12 industry. We devoted to connecting learners around the world with more than 100 million users across 400,000 schools worldwide. iModel is also listed by Unesco as recommended online learning platform. You may wonder what's the meaning of iModel. Well, actually, ED is shortened for education, and model actually comes from Greek word, which means the way to do something. So we believe Edmodo is the right way to do education. And we also intend to help teachers, administrators, and parents for K-12 schools to facilitate students' learning and provide social caring and interaction.
Charlie, one more minute, please.
All right, sure, absolutely. Well, in 2015, in 15th March, the Education of Egypt announced they have selected Edmodo to be designated online learning platform for a K-12 education system. So Edmodo will be rolled out to over 22 million students, over 1 million teachers in Egypt to provide distance learning support. Followed by Ministry of Education in Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria. They are all seriously discussing the Edmodo national implementations. Rest assured, Edmodo is designed to protect the privacy of students and teachers by providing an absolute secure platform to communicate and collaborate. I think one of the strengths for us is to building communities. We have been very successful in building gaming communities in China. So I think the next step is, of course, the learning community, which is what we are trying to build right now. Well, once again, it's my great honor to work with the Ministry of Education in Rwanda. Thank you very much for our causing. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Excellent. Now it's my pleasure to invite Curious Learning, Mr. Chrisen. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Are you going to share your screen?
Yes, I will.
Go ahead.
But I'll carry on talking as we are. Yeah, so Curious Learning has been a partner of Unesco for quite a long time. We've got a history of working together with Unesco both in the field and in terms of taking guidance from Unesco, both from a research perspective and in terms of developing our content. We started as a research group. However, now we're a global nonprofit, and what we're doing is essentially developing apps, curating them for use across Africa on mobile devices. All of this started with the question of whether children can read on mobiles, right? And many years, lots of research, we came to the conclusion that yes, they can. However, there's some key aspects to how you would have to build and for what kind of devices you would have to do this. Many of which have been mentioned by previous speakers. So briefly what Curious Learning does, and I will share this presentation, but we curate and create content. We localize into mother tongue. That's a very important piece of the puzzle because children learn best to read in a language they already speak. And that's vitally important. What we do thereafter is have the same content available in other languages, which then helps the transition in their learning journey. And then we work on distribution. How do we get these high impact learning apps to children? Obviously, bearing in mind that parent and caregiver smartphones are far more available than dedicated devices for an individual child. So we try and activate those devices that are already available in communities and are relatively low cost on their own. I'm going to skip that slide there. The last one, just the key point from that is that, you know, it's shown that 22 hours of usage of our apps is the equivalent of 2 months of literacy learning in school. Obviously, school teaches you many more things than that, but you know, the primary objective of literacy, the apps are extremely effective in achieving that. There's a few reasons why the apps are really good, you know, and also there was a question about the internet and safety for children. You know, our apps are built with no advertising, no in-app purchases, and they can work completely offline once they download it, which means that you don't have young children with, you know, unlimited internet access. We've designed for low-end smartphones. Thank you. And we've designed everything free. So our idea is that, you know, we're proving that this works and that children can learn this way, but ultimately, you know, countries can take on this project themselves and drive the content, the development of further content. I'll show you what other apps we have already available. Feed the Monster was our first app. That was an incredible early learning tool, but we also have interactive storybooks, numeracy apps, assessment app to gauge the level of a child's progress, and a teacher development app that shows how you bring this all together within the school context. COVID-19 has certainly stimulated so much more of our work because of kids not being in school, because we've always designed that to be in support of the education system and not to have to be implemented within a school. So I'll stop there.
Okay.
I'll share this presentation. Thank you for the time.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kristen. And now I see my colleague Chart representing Coursera is with us. Chart?
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Perfect. I'm just going to share my screen.
Okay. You know the rule. 3 minutes.
I know the rules, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, excellent.
Perfect. Let me just give a quick overview of Coursera and two of our initiatives that we've launched in support of the COVID-19 situation globally. So just a quick recap, Coursera is a large online learning platform. At the moment, we have 65 million users with 3.6 million across Africa. We work with over 40 industry partners like Google, Amazon Web Services, IBM, Intel, and they provide the content from an industry perspective. We also work with over 165 universities globally. These are the top universities in the world that range from Stanford, Yale, Princeton, Imperial College in London, and so on. And they provide their best content on our platform as well. We also train over 2,300 corporations globally. These are the major corporations of the world, from Vodacom to Turkcell to L'Oreal to Danone. We train their employees on skills like digital transformation and data science. And we also work with over 40 governments, training their government employees and training their citizens and workforce to upskill the nations. At the moment, because of the situation with COVID-19, we've seen a massive spike in users on our platform. It's up, in fact, 644% from last year. So it's absolutely massive, the displacement we've seen and the online learning as a result. For Africa, this is a quick snapshot of where we're working and the volume of users in the countries across Africa. So you can see our top 10 countries. And over the whole continent, it's 3.6 million unique learners using Coursera. The top enrollments by domain tend to be business, computer science, health, and data science. Those are the skills that people across the continent are actually expressing a need for training in those areas. We've got an extensive catalog of online courses ranging from business to technology, data science, health, social sciences, and humanities. These include tests, assessments, quizzes, and projects as well to demonstrate learning. And the learner does not get the certificate until they pass all the assessments. Now, these are the two initiatives we've launched in response to coronavirus. The first one is a coronavirus for university students, for campuses. This allows any university in the world to receive 5,000 certificates, 5,000 licenses for their students per university. And in many countries, this is being done directly by the university. They register on the link provided at the bottom of the screen, directly on there, or the Ministry of Higher Education will apply on behalf of universities in their country. And in some cases, our partners at Unesco have also helped with these universities in certain countries to get them registered onto this free program. This goes until the end of September, the free licenses to these universities. And that's a result of this, countrywide and localized closures of schools affecting 1.6 billion learners across the world. That's 91% of the world's total enrolled learners. So we're hoping that this free initiative to help these universities will go some way to help support the disruption caused by COVID-19.
Okay, 1 more minute.
Sure. Universities are responding. We've had a huge outpouring of support from them and coordination, so it's having an impact. And as a result, we launched a second program, a free program, this time for unemployed people globally. In this program, we're seeing lots of low-skilled jobs being affected by by closures and the economic downturn. So we launched a second initiative to help any unemployed citizen in any country in the world receive free Coursera training until the end of December, to December 31st, 2020. And there is the link at the bottom of the screen. Any government agency that deals with unemployed people at the federal, regional, or local city level can apply. So I wanted to thank all of you for your time, and I do hope you will take up these free initiatives and we can help support your populations from the current crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chad. Excellent. Now, before inviting Huawei, I would like to add another speaker. She will be Miss Yumiko, my colleague, the director of UNESCO Institute ICBA, and before she leaves for another meeting. Yumiko, are you ready?
Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Taro. I just would like to thank Excellencies and the colleagues for this opportunity. ICBA has been working with IIT as well as Enrolled Category 2 Center in China to come up with the online course, very accessible online course for teachers. Your IIT colleague might tell you about it, but we are very excited. It will be launched on the 7th of July. We will try to do the webinar, and I do believe Rwanda is one of the best. Rwanda has the best IT environment, educational environment, educational IT environment in the region. So we really would like this course to be owned by Rwanda. And in addition, ICBA has been running a weekly webinars on the different topics. Next Wednesday, we'll be doing a reopening and then hearing the voices of teachers. So thank you very much for this. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yumiko, for the very brief, however, very important message. We are working collectively on the new online course, which will be launched on the 7th of July. Now, it's my pleasure to invite Huawei. So who is going to representing Huawei? The floor is yours. Do we have anyone from Huawei? I know we do have someone. Yes. And yes. Linto. Your mic is muted. Please unmute your mic. Your mic is still muted. Unmute. Please unmute your mic. It doesn't work. We could, I will invite you as the next speaker. Now, let me invite Distance Learning for Africa. Who is going to represent Distance Learning for Africa? Distance Education for Africa, sorry. Distance Education.
Yes, yes,
yeah,
I'm
okay.
here.
Over to you.
Yeah, over to you.
Okay, I'm trying to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Hello. Can I say something on behalf of Huawei Regional Secretary?
As the next one. Linto is already online. Yes. Now we have Distance Education for Africa.
Okay.
Go ahead. You may start
yes,
the presentation now. Yeah.
So can you see my screen?
If not, just go ahead with your presentation there. Now we can see it.
Okay.
No,
you can see?
No, please
okay.
Go ahead. You have only 3 minutes. Yeah, even
okay.
without PowerPoint. Yeah.
Okay. My name is Sidiki Traore. I'm the president of Distance Education for Africa. I want to, my presentation will be, quickly, just to give you a brief introduction. Distance Education for Africa, DE Africa, is a non-profit organization, educational organization based in the US and Nairobi. Our objective is to alleviate poverty by improving access to efficient and effective world-class training and education course to poor communities in Africa. DE Africa bringing content from one university to another, as well as providing courses directly to students not enrolled in universities. By providing technology, pedagogical experience, and methodologies, as well as up-to-date content, DE Africa extends quality education to people who would not otherwise have access to educational resources. DE Africa reaches urban and rural areas, dropout students, and disadvantaged across Africa. So we have offered so far courses in English, cybersecurity English courses. And also today I'm going to talk about the Africa Scholarship Cohort, which has an impact in Rwanda. The African Scholarship Cohort is a partnership with the University of Virginia Business School. And so far, it's a project which spans across the entire continent in Africa. We have offered courses in business course in 51 countries in Africa, and we have offered 7,000 scholarships over $1 million US. So, and in our scholarship project, we have had so many people from Rwanda. So what I wanted to talk about is, our involvement in Rwanda. We have created community of learners, and Rwanda is one of the biggest beneficiaries. And we have a big group in Rwanda. We have offered courses in business development, project management, digital transformation, and introduction to personal branding. But one of our successful courses.
Sorry, colleagues, please mute your microphone when you are not speaking. We heard noises from the background. Sorry. Please go on. 1 more minute for you.
Okay. So, I wanted to share with you actually the what we are offering to you is free products today. We are offering.
Send the link. You may send the link to us. Yeah.
Okay. I'll send you a PowerPoint.
Yeah, so the PowerPoint.
We are proposing free.
The link.
Yeah. We are proposing free material to you. One is called the Digital Library. The Digital Library is a powerful tool for teachers. It's basically, it has two functions. It's a digital equipment, a small library, which you could put in school, and 50 people could connect to that digital library. It has millions of videos. It has teacher training program. And
please move faster. Yeah.
Okay, you don't need internet connection at all. So that's the first product we are proposing. The second one is the Rachel. The Rachel is it's a mini computer, which is extremely powerful. It could be connected to any device. It could also help as you could connect it as a remote technical support. It could do so many things. And the third one is Kodi. Kodi is open source. All these material are open source material. So that's what we are proposing to, to the.
Okay. Thank you very much. And sorry for the inconvenience. And now may I invite Huawei and Lintor. Can you make yourself heard?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh,
We can
finally.
hear you now. We can see you.
I'll just try to reconnect in.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Taro, and thanks, the chair. So this is Lin Tuvu from Huawei. I'm connecting from Shenzhen. I have also two of my colleagues in local office and just to join in. So Huawei has joined UNESCO Education Coalition and has initiated a dedicated program called Learn On project to support the online learning during pandemic. This program has provided online platform and connection support for higher education teachers and students at home, so that the students could learn online, practice online, and also to get a certification exam at home. Actually, this program was well received, and there are more than 15 countries in Africa is ongoing now, and there are about 5,000 students engaged directly. We are also looking at after COVID period. We encourage teachers all around the countries to build local courseware on top of our standard ICT course. The ICT courses are all open and welcome for further adaptation. Second is that we are going to set up training centers partners with universities to as the teacher training center for the future cooperating partner universities and colleges. So we are calling for cooperation for both universities and colleges, for teachers and experts on ICT courseware development. Also, I have to point out that the local, the connectivity is always a problem. During the learning program, we also notice a lot of shortage of or absence of connection. We call for more carrier partners, which is Huawei is supporting them also to bring better connection for the local. Huawei, we have a Rwanda office in there, and we are very happy to work with all partners around to contribute the education here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent project and excellent in keeping time. Thank you, Lintor. And now it's my pleasure to invite NISAID Group. Is David representing NISAID Group? NISAID Group.
Hi, good morning.
Go ahead. 3 minutes.
Yeah. Brilliant. I'll just share my screen and talk at the same time. So my name is David Nestor. I'm the Group Learning Services Director for NISAID. We are an online provider of education and have been doing this now for coming up to 25 years. So very much post-COVID, or sorry, pre-COVID. As I go through this, we work with young people and learners from primary school age through to adulthood. We are an approved Cambridge International School, delivering academic subjects, but also a strategic partner of an awarding body called NOCM, which is very much around vocational and technical qualifications delivered to the work-based market, and we will soon be announcing a partnership with a private, an independent university in the Middle East. So our exposure is going far, way and beyond just the schools market, but also to higher education. We've introduced a number of project-based programs in recent months to support in numeracy, literacy, and trying to do it in a very different way. But we see online learning as more of a complementary solution to schools and governments, and working in partnership with those organisations to improve the reach and get to not just vulnerable and marginalised groups, but also mainstream learners as well. We feel that online, when done right, provides structure and a sense of purpose, and it's about supporting the whole child rather than just the education element. So we do a lot of work with those who are medically ill and special needs, and also those struggling with mental health. And we are globally seeing an increase in youth anxiety during the COVID pandemic. The Academy, we're not a content provider, we're not a technology company, we're an educational organisation that uses technology to make education more accessible and we've looked to create an online learning community that young people and learners can socialise, interact with each other, again supporting core skills. Just finishing off, within the NISI group, we have an offer which is based on language acquisition and improving English language. It is very visual. We've seen significant levels of progress in it. Promotes independent learning as well. It is all online, but in terms of speed of internet connectivity, it's incredible. I mean, it doesn't need a sort of fiber optic connection, and it works incredibly well with those of limited cognitive ability, those with dyslexia, but in this case, and most importantly, those where English isn't their first language. So it's a very powerful tool. It fits in incredibly well with a blended approach with online. I'm 20 seconds over, so I will finish at that point and hand back.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Thank you for the presentation, and IIT is also delighted to work together with you here in Russia. And now I'm going to invite another UNESCO center in Shenzhen on higher education innovation. Mr. Chen, are you with us? Ichi, UNESCO Ichi.
Hi, Mr. Tao. Well, we're here.
Okay,
so,
3 minutes. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speaking on behalf of the UNESCO International Center for Higher Education and Innovation based in Shenzhen, China. So UNESCO IG has jointly launched the International Institute for Online Education in April 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and resulting school closures around the world. We've launched this project with 11 universities in Asia and Africa. So IIOE, which is our flagship initiative, mainly aims to provide teacher training to universities in Africa. So currently we have more than 140 English courses, which are free for access. There will be a total of 500 English courses and 300 French courses to be gradually put online by the end of 2021. We have our own platform, which is available in English, French, and Chinese. So after its official launch, we've organized 10 training sessions for universities in Africa, focused on online teaching and learning. So, so far we've had 2,100 teachers benefiting from these trainings from over 300 universities in 47 African countries. Besides that, we also developed an IIOE quality assurance framework to ensure the quality of online and blended teaching and learning of higher education institutions. We've also developed an IIOE ICT competency framework of university teachers based on the UNESCO ICT CFT to guide and evaluate teachers' training.
1 more minute.
Yes, thank you. We're looking forward to welcome universities in 10 more African countries by the end of this year. And present, we also implemented smart classrooms equipped with computers, projectors, and cameras, as well as other digital equipment in 12 universities in Asia and Africa. And we have secured funding for 18 more smart classrooms. We're happy to carry out these activities with partners. We believe that we can assist with the digitalization and sustainable development of African higher education during and after the COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation and your projects for Africa. Now it's my pleasure to invite a new partner for the collective action in Africa. It's Ching Hai University, the Shertown X. Mr. Pan, the screen is yours. Are you with us, Mr. Pan? Yes, go ahead. But we cannot hear you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Pan Shoudong from Xuetang X. I feel honored to have the opportunity to report on the work that Xuetang X has done during the epidemic and how to achieve common development and progress with African education. Xuetang X was initiated by Ching Hai University, which was launched in 2013 as the first Chinese MOOC platform. It also functioned as the online education platform of the UNESCO International Center for Engineering Education. Xuetang X was honored to be one of the first batch of international online platforms released by the Ministry of Education in April. After getting the first learner, Xuetang X has been committed to providing high-quality courses and the development of smart technology. During the epidemic, Xuetang X helped Ching Hai University and other 825 Chinese universities on online teaching to achieve no suspension of classes, no suspension of teaching, with 3,100 MOOCs and ranked classroom, covering 18 million teachers and students, including 120,000 international students. Collaborated with African Engineering Education Association, Xuetang X has built online course platform for University of Lagos to provide online teaching service. To summarize the online teaching experience of this semester, we deeply understand that resource, platform, and training are the three most important parts. Therefore, in order to achieve common development and progress with African education, we would like to provide the following support. The first one, open some ranked classroom VIP accounts for free so that teachers can be more efficient and convenient for interactive online live teaching. The second one, for African learners, we will provide MOOC resources for free. The last one, provide free online training on the use of course resources, ranked classroom, and MOOC design. That's all. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Pan. I see great opportunities for you, Ching Hai University, and the collaboration with Africa, particularly with Rwanda. And now it's my pleasure to invite another colleague of mine, Mr. BJ, the Vice President of International Center of Excellency for Innovative Learning, based in the Netherlands.
Thank you, Dr. Taro.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon. And I'm going to go very quickly through this presentation. And obviously, Dr. Tao will be sharing these presentations for all those interested. I think what I wanted to do was focus on our Center of Excellence, which is really focused on two key areas, which I think may be relevant in our discussions today. And this is, we're a consortium of 28 education universities with a footprint of 350,000 students, but we're focused on two key areas on how we can make better use of technology in education, and especially to expand teacher training capacity using 21st century tools and teaching methodologies. We currently, have just finished a major project in East Africa, and which has significantly expanded the teacher training capacity for refugee students in Kakuma. I'm also a co-coordinator of two themes for the International Task Force on Teachers, which is ICT and distance learning, and education and emergencies. I think that in listening to the colleagues here, I very much appreciated the challenges we're going in the COVID crisis. And I think there are just a couple of points I'd like to make. Is I think the teachers are finding it very, very difficult because their world has turned upside down. The teaching pedagogy and didactics that they had been using is not really suited for all the new tools and online solutions that are made available. Teachers are also having to adapt to the new reality of online teaching. And in order to do that, they're being increasingly isolated. Teachers need other teachers for peer-to-peer support, and that, unfortunately, is not happening. And although we are in the Google world, where we can find content very quickly, teachers are also spending a lot of time trying to find pertinent digital content for their teaching. The net result is that teachers are exhausted, and they're not used to being in front of a computer all day. But the one that really concerns me is that teachers need help to fight exclusion with their disadvantaged students. The other thing I'd like to ensure is that disadvantaged children need special attention, and I was very glad to hear the Honourable Minister talk about this challenge. And our challenge is to make sure that we make online learning in a way that no student goes off the grid. Because the two words I hear all teachers express, whether it's in East Africa or here in Europe, is exhaustion as to what they've had to do and fear that they're going to have to do it again with another pandemic.
1 more minute, please.
Our recommendation is that we get together with other partners and establish an academy for expanding teacher trainers so that we can standardize teaching methodology for online learning, standardize use of ICT and online tools, bring a secure library for pertinent digital content, and break the isolations of teachers. And I really would recommend this so that we can scale up teacher training capacity for secondary and TVET schools. The other two recommendations is that we really need to generalize pedagogy and didactics for online teaching, because we can give teachers access to tools, but without the proper pedagogy and didactics, it's not really going to be efficient. And finally, we need to help teachers fight exclusion in their community by making sure that they are making online teaching as dynamic as their classroom had been. Thank you very much, Dr. Taro.
Thank you, BJ. You always have very inspiring and innovative ideas as in the name of your organization. Thank you. And now the next partner is the Commonwealth of Learning. Because of time difference, they asked my colleague Svetlana to present on behalf of them. Svetlana, are you with us?
Yes, I'm with you, but unfortunately, I didn't receive a presentation from the Commonwealth of Learning.
Okay, please go ahead without PPT. You can share information about their resources briefly.
Actually, the Commonwealth of Learning is very active in Africa as well. And just a moment, I have to open some materials. So,
Svetlana, we lost you. We cannot hear you anymore.
I'm sorry?
Now it's okay. Go ahead.
So the Commonwealth of Learning is mainly focused on helping Commonwealth governments and institutions to use technologies to improve and expand access to education and training. And they have developed apps. Well, maybe I'll try to share my screen now. Can you see it? Can you see the slide?
Not yet. Now you have only 2 minutes.
I think she can speak to it. Let her speak to it.
You can share the materials in the chat box, and please go on with your presentation. Yeah, just
so call is focusing on promoting independent and interactive learning. It is interested in partnership for open educational resources. It develops MOOCs together with the Commonwealth member states and organizes webinars. So mainly the 4 key areas for call support in innovating towards resilience would be crisis management for inclusion. Call wishes to work with the ministries of education to develop strategies for teacher training, to ensure effective inclusive education during and beyond COVID-19. Secondly, call is willing to support development of accessible educational materials. Thirdly, call is willing to scale up training on online and blended learning, and do this in partnership with various institutions towards pedagogical innovation for teachers and teacher educators. And fourthly, these are massive open online courses. Call would like to support and develop in partnership with the member states MOOCs on various areas to be developed in partnership with institutions who can provide local mentors. Thank you.
Thank you, Svetlana, for sharing the brief information about Commonwealth of Learning. And still we have 2 partners. The next one is Lincoln University, who is going to open the campus in Rwanda. Ms. Gail, the Senior Vice President of the university, is with us. The screen is yours, Ms. Gail.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. As a university, as I said earlier, Lim Koh Wing is a university based in Malaysia, but we have campuses worldwide, especially in Africa. And where Rwanda is, we are hopeful of actually opening our campus by end of this year. Through the past few meetings, thank you so much for inviting our participation. We have actually looked at teachers and learners and parents, as well as accessibility and affordability. What we would like to do as a university and as a partner to Unesco IITA, can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
Is that we are looking at actually 3 things. We will be most happy to provide our resources, our facilities and our staff to support the ministry in terms of training of teachers to teach using ICT, which we see that as one big area. We hope we will be able to contribute in terms of helping to digitize the government local school curriculum so that it could actually be delivered online as well as broadcast media. And lastly, as a university, we are a TVET university. We have actually started using the Google Classroom, Zoom, and YouTube to deliver our courses in Malaysia as well as in our other campuses. And we would be most happy to share our experience to take this on further. Essentially, that's my presentation and what we can do. So we can only offer our resources, not so much as in terms of content or whatever. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We are looking forward to working together with you for Rwanda as well. And the last partner is IIT itself. As my colleague, Mr. Saido, said at the beginning, we have a new project together with Nairobi office. This new project is focusing on inclusion of education in Rwanda. And my colleague, Natalia, who is responsible for this project, is going to make a brief presentation on this new project. We already had a meeting with the Secretary General of the National Commission for Rwanda for a discussion. We are looking forward to working together with ministries and colleagues in Rwanda. Natalia, the screen is yours.
Good morning, dear colleagues and Tao. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce to the Rwanda specialists this very important project. Can you see my presentation slide now? I will make it.
Go ahead.
One moment. Okay. So integrating. Yes, now we can see it. Integrating artificial intelligence and digital innovations to strengthen inclusion and equity in education in Africa is an initiative of the UNESCO IIT. This initiative was supported, as Tao already mentioned, by Chengdu Culture and Tourism Development Group and the National Commission of China. This project is designed and aimed at strengthening inclusion and equity in teaching, learning, and monitoring of education and lifelong learning. The implementation of the project will promote equitable opportunities for education and professional development, promotion of social involvement and intercommunication. The initiative will also facilitate development capacity of young people, especially those from vulnerable groups, through further learning and training. Actually, this project is designed for 2 countries. We have 2 targeted countries, and today we're introducing and I would say launching this project for Rwanda. And the criteria for the choice of the countries in the African region were, first of all, basic readiness of the society in general and education system in particular in the target country, supported by implementation of the recent UNESCO activities. Secondly, demonstrated commitment of the government to mainstream digital technologies for inclusive education and training as a strategy to achieve SDG 4. And thirdly, presence of strong UNESCO regional and national offices with solid relationships with national stakeholders. And as we have already learned from Honorable Minister and from all country UN team, in line with the Sustainable Development Goal number 4, Rwanda focuses on quality of education and learning, and the education strategic plan is based on, first of all, scaling up pre-primary enrollment. Secondly, improving learning outcomes, and thirdly, improving relevance of curricula. And what is very important, promoting science, technology, and innovation, and providing access for all, including those with special needs. Also, I would like to mention that Rwanda is also piloting the comprehensive refugees response framework for their social economic inclusion.
Natalia, you need to move faster.
Yes, okay.
I'll give you 2 more minutes. Yeah,
Thank you very much. Now, yes, of the regions worldwide, Sub-Saharan Africa has the highest rates of education and exclusion. Access to school for children from different vulnerable groups is often limited due to a lack of understanding about their needs, shortage of trained teachers, classroom support, learning resources and facilities. And we have already learned about the challenges from our colleagues from Madame Claudente, yes, from the Honorable Minister. So I will not pay much attention to the challenges. I just want to move to the project and let you know about the implementation strategy. Artificial intelligence and digital innovations based tools, for example, translation services, distant tutors, text-to-speech converters, and voice-controlled assistants may essentially enhance educational outcomes and provide critical services to those most in need. The project implementation will support access to technologies, development of curriculum and competences of stakeholders, particularly teachers and trainers, to use digital innovations in a transformative and impactful way. The initiative will also adopt innovative approaches and develop capacity of young people, especially those from vulnerable groups, through further learning and training to help meet Africa's key priorities in education. And let me inform you about the main activities which are planned in this project. First of all, we plan to conduct the needs assessment of gender equality and inclusive education for promoting mainstreaming of digital innovations, and we plan to develop national report. After that, based on this information, we plan to prepare action plans and guidelines to support national inclusive education systems. Another activity will be based on development of the training programs and conducting trainings, first of all, for master trainers on competency development for mainstreaming of digital innovations to strengthen inclusion, equity, and equality in education. I would like to pay your attention that during this project, we plan to establish an innovative center. It will be innovative model institution, which will be chosen by the government of this country, of Rwanda, and equipped with advanced technologies and serving as an open laboratory for collaborative practices and networking on artificial intelligence and digital innovations. As I remember, Honorable Minister mentioned that the lack of digital tools are one of the priorities, one of the biggest challenges in Rwanda. So we plan to provide these examples, some equipment to the country and to build networking based on this model center, based on this resource center. And in addition to it, we also plan to develop online resource portal, which will contain materials, training materials, collection of innovative practices, technical guidelines, and other resources for mainstreaming of digital innovations to strengthen inclusion and equity in education.
Natalia, I think,
yes,
yeah.
That's
okay.
all. I just want to say thank you very much, and we are looking forward to working closely with the country representatives and specialists, as well as with Nairobi office, to implement this project. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Natalia. We are looking forward to working together with the ministries in Rwanda and the colleagues in Rwanda and the Nairobi office. And before giving the floor back to my colleague Saido, I'd like to thank all the partners for your passion, for your readiness to support Africa. And I think there will be follow-up opportunities for one-to-one discussion with colleagues in Rwanda. Now, back to you, Saido. Your mic.
Thank you very,
yeah.
Thank you very much, Taro, and thank you to the partners for their presentations. I'm sorry there's too short time to do so. We will move on. Well, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, which I had wanted my colleague Awol Endris to take over. Awol?
Yes, Sado.
Okay, over to you. Just general questions. If there are questions or
Hello?
comments, they could quickly do that, then we can move forward. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. I have been having some connection issues, so you will be standing by, but I will try and lead this part of the meeting. We have heard from government officials and from partners on the situation in Rwanda and also on what partners can offer. Let's now give some time for us to raise some issues and some concerns or some suggestions on the what we can do together for Rwanda. So the floor is now open for general comments and some discussion questions. Over. We would especially like to have some comments coming from the government side.
Okay, I think alternatively, I think if there are no comments at the moment, we could, we could just move on to going towards the end of the program. Yes, but I understand, I can hear some voice. Yes, go ahead, please.
I would like to make a comment. Honorable Minister, representative of different institutions, good afternoon. My name is Yves Iradukunda. I'm the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of ICT and Innovation. I joined the conversation a bit late, but for what I have been able to see through various presentations, quite impressive work done by various partners in responding to the need to accelerate learning online. So really looking forward to seeing how this work can benefit Rwanda, but also other countries across the continent where some of these solutions are already being applied. So we wanted to commend the effort of Unesco in supporting this work and looking forward to seeing more information that will be shared and have tangible way forward to see how this can be integrated in other efforts that the Ministry of Education is doing to respond to the education needs. One comment I will make from ICT Ministry's perspective, there are several other aspects to make this online learning possible. This includes generally focusing on digital skills for our population. And the second is putting in place frameworks and policies that allow affordability of devices for each family to be able to access either a smartphone or other tools that allow them to consume the content. And lastly, continuing to make efforts to ensure that the broadband connectivity continues to be affordable for families that are using these tools. So there are several efforts that the government is doing to ensure that more families can be connected. In particular, recent campaign that we've been running, Connect to Rwanda, that has seen more devices distributed. And so we're taking a step further to work with various partners on smart device acquisition frameworks that will see more device penetration. So I do look forward to this collaboration and supporting the initiatives that will see us going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Permanent Secretary. We have another colleague, Martha Mwezi. I see her hand up. Over to you, Martha.
Thank you so much. And I just want to add my voice to thank all the partners for all the effort that is being put in to say that education continues despite what's going on. And I also commend the good work that is being done. But I just want to put my voice onto taking into consideration the gender differences. I know we plan, but I just want us to have it at the back of our mind that it's not homogeneous. The different learners have different challenges, and those are some of the issues that we need to put at the back of our mind as we make all the suggestions, the very good suggestions that we are putting forward. I just want to give an example of the vulnerable groups, particularly the girls in the very rural areas. Equipment is very key. And I know Rwanda is has made good strides in terms of ICT, and learning has been going online. But I just want to reflect on the 1,200 scholars that FAWE is supporting together with MasterCard Foundation. If we had not gone a step ahead to provide each and every learner with a laptop, to provide each and every learner with IT connection, with the internet connection, I don't think that category of learners would have been able to join the online learning that is going on currently. So it's just to think about those that are very, underprivileged. How do we ensure that we don't leave anyone behind? But in all that we propose, we move with each and every learner. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It's very valuable.
Can I just react to Martha? Are you okay, Awol?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
I was saying the comments by Madam Mwezi was very pertinent. We are all in this together, and leaving no one behind is the cardinal goal or principle that we are working towards. And we will have to do everything we can to make sure that no one is left behind. I now would like to give the floor to Mr. Gashumba. Mr. Gashumba, over to you.
Thank you very much. I wanted just to comment on what BJ Dungana of ICE-FIL, the Netherlands, said about teacher training. I'm the Vice Chancellor of Rwanda Polytechnic, and we have a total of about 5,000 teachers in the TVET sector. This number is likely to double in the next 5 years. But one thing that he mentioned that stuck out, that really caught my attention, is that we probably, any institution is as good as its faculty. So the investment we put in our teachers is extremely important. And as he said, that teachers feel overwhelmed, sometimes a lot being asked of them, and we, in many cases, under-resourced. So I'm looking forward to having more discussion with Mr. Dungana, but also I noticed that the lady, I've forgotten her name, from Lincoln University in Malaysia, who are interested in setting up in Rwanda, I would be looking forward to having discussions with them. We really are looking forward to investing very heavily in our teachers, giving them capacity, encouraging them, realizing that the modern environment means that sometimes their students are ahead of them when it comes to technology. So they have always to be working. And he also mentioned, BJ, that the best learning environment is peer-to-peer, not just someone coming and providing a workshop, but the peer-to-peer, having those support structures where teachers learn from each other, where you can identify champions and then get these champions to help others on one-on-one, visiting one school to another, helping them. So I'm really looking forward to working with them, because our TOT, or teaching of trainers, or training of trainers program in Rwanda is something we want to invest very heavily in. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Would you like to comment on?
Yes, if I may. Thank you so much, Mr. Kazomba. I certainly will look forward to meeting with you and taking it on further. A little bit elaboration about Limca Rwanda. We will be undergoing an accreditation by WDA. It's not by the Council for Higher Education, being a TVET university. So I would be most happy to actually share with you the kind of training that we are running through. And I have also picked up what Mr. BJ said about the masters train the trainers. I think that is something that we will be very happy to actually share our knowledge and to see what we can actually put it together into a more practical sense and actually to localize it. I think it is important to localize the training so that, you know, it meets the local needs rather than a standardized training formula. Thank you so much. I look forward to linking up with you again.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vijay? Mr. Vijay, you're muted. Unmute your mic. Your mic is mute. Unmute your mic, Mr. Vijay. Mr. Vijay, your mic apparently has refused to be unmuted or something. In the interest of time, and surely because the issues are very pertinent, very